The webinar is going to start at 12 o'clock. I have 11:56, and I have so much stuff going on that I thought that I would just give us a little bit of time so that we can have some of the participants can gather, and I wouldn't, just because I tend to just start right at 12 o'clock, and I'm definitely not going to start after 12 o'clock. That's not me. So I said, well, let me start a little bit before 12 o'clock and talk about something that only you would know from starting out early. And of course, today we're going to talk about the building wealth from your waste. At least 10 habits, unfortunately, that are common for too many people in our community, and how to take those habits and turn them into wealth and empowerment. But I'm not sure if you know about the updates that I do each week. I sent out an AfroEconomic update, and they're sent to you via email. So you have to go to the website and subscribe, where you'll see information about the workshops, and you'll see information about, so many things. I'm going to hit here to let Facebook sharing this. AfroEconomics with Bryan also has a Facebook page. So I'm going to also just give a heads up. We're going to start the webinar at 12 o'clock as promised. Just a little early, because I like for things to start on time. So if you are a participant in my workshops, you will know that is one thing that we do, is that our workshops start on time. And for May, it's all about the men. And we're having today's Black Man and His Money hosted. The panelist host is Don Tice. And I'm going to do the workshop so that the men can take over for the second half of the work of the day and just talk. It's the holiday weekend. So I'm hoping that you'll take a moment before you start up the grills, guys, and you'll come and do the workshop. We have an entire school. Dr. Hicks from Southside Community College is bringing a lot of his students. He's a professor who focuses on education and the importance of the continuing education and support of our Black males. And he really is excited about them getting the financial empowerment that they deserve. And I'm just so glad that I'm able to use AfroEconomics to bring the men the information that they need. And I'm even more excited about Don Tice and the men just taking over and really doing their discussion, and me just being there as a resource for them. If they have specific financial questions, that I just want to make AfroEconomics and the 10 principles of AfroEconomics and my investment firm, my registered investment firm, available for the men to get access and information. And the membership of AfroEconomics is a major tool for addressing any financial goal that you have. So how you doing, Pastor Sean Dandridge Sr. is actually hanging out with us on Facebook. Thank you. And, Ronald Burgess as well, Wayne Batts as well. So I expect it, no matter how far y'all live, I expect you all at the Today's Black Man and His Money workshop. So we're going to, I don't know if it's 12 on the nose. I'm holding in my hand the AfroEconomic update for this week, and it's about what are your odds of being audited. So if you want that information on at me, okay, great. Facebook, I think you're back up. Great. But I'm going to put this back up so that you all can enjoy the website behind me again. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who was that? Fios. Thank you, Fios, for coming through. But hey, look, I would have appreciated even more if they had not dropped us down. But we're back up. So technology is our friend again. How you doing, Tina Jefferson Parham, Elizabeth Jefferson Parham? You are Tina to me. How you doing, Queen? So thank you all so much. Let's talk about what wealth really is. What is wealth? So wealth from a numerical perspective, when we think about wealth, interesting definition I was looking at the last week about wealth is that it was saying that rich people have money, but wealthy people don't worry about money. And that is really powerful. So true, so true. So, but if we look at it just from not a philosophical perspective, but from a numbers perspective, let's think about wealth. That wealth is your assets minus your liabilities will give you your net worth, which is also your wealth. Like so when you're applying for something at the bank and they're asking you about, what do you have in your savings account? What do you have in your investment account? They're asking you about assets. You don't see the balance sheet, but they're creating a balance sheet for you. And what are the assets? What are the things that you own and you have? What do you owe on those? So sometimes you'll have an asset, but you still owe more than what the asset is worth. Like say you have a house and the house is worth $150,000, but you owe $180,000 on it. Well, that's not worth anything. That's not creating wealth for you at that point. You're hoping that it will turn around so that the asset will actually be worth more than what you owe on it, correct? So what we're talking about is what are some things that we can do, or where are some ways that we're wasting money, the things that we can do to recreate or create wealth. And so how are we going to increase the assets, or we can reduce the liabilities? Either way, they'll both create. So increasing your assets, leaving your liabilities the same, will still increase your wealth. Or if your assets stay the same, but you reduce your liability, you reduce what you owe on them, your wealth will increase that way as well. So let's think about this. So if you have, these are some ways that we waste money. Fees at the bank. From not using the app at the bank, not using the app that banks do provide. If you have a banking account that doesn't have an app and they don't have a way for you to easily keep up with what you're spending, then you may want to consider getting another bank, right, Shonda? So you might want to get a bank that actually makes it easy for you to keep up with your money. You want to keep up with a bank that makes your money available to you quickly. You want to do whatever banking you can do. You want to make sure that you're banking with an institution that does not encourage you to create fees. There's a lot of banking that's going on now where the bank is unfortunately not working to your best benefit. And so you need to make sure that you realize how they can be hurting you, but also take responsibility of what do we need to do in order to avoid these fees. Because if you're paying, say, $200, and every time you bounce a check, or not even called bounce a check, but you overdraft using the debit card, or they pay for something that wasn't really there and they act like they're doing you a favor, and then they charge you $35, then it goes into negative zone, and then you get a fee for that. So you're racking up all these fees that over the whole year, that could be $200, $300 that you could have put into an asset, that you could have put into your retirement plan. You could have put into an IRA for you, that you could have put in, or also you could have put it into paying down a debt that would also increase your wealth. So fees are a big waste of money that if you get out of the habit of creating fees or having fees, you can actually start building wealth with that money that used to be used for fees. So that's one major way that our community is wasting money, is giving away unnecessary fees to financial institutions. Now, a second point is if you don't use it, lose it. And when I think about that, it's really about like your gym membership or subscriptions for magazines, Costco. I remember a couple of years having a membership at like the Price Club, Costco, whatever. And, I don't have a big family, so I wasn't going there buying these things in quantity. And it's a lot easier for me to buy office supplies online than to have to use to pay a membership of an extra fee in order to go and buy things. So if you have these memberships, make sure that it's working to your benefit, right, Janet Cherry? That anything that you're spending your money on each month, look at the fees and the expenses that are going out. And I have to work on that as well, because as a business owner, it's easy for us to set up things that they say will help you increase your exposure for your business, that this is going to be, good for your business. I forgot to turn on my recording. I got it now. I'm recording. I want to record, so I have to save. One of you might want to see it again. So the first tip was reduce the fees that you're paying to banks. A second was, if you don't use it, lose it, meaning like gym memberships and things like that. Make sure that you, if you have magazines that are coming to your house, or you're in some sort of book club and you're getting these books and you're not reading the books, that there's only one book that you need. Look, there's only one book every family, every household needs. Look, in addition to your source of spiritual healing. In addition to that, the AfroEconomics book. No, but if you are subscribing to things and you're not actually using them, lose it, right? Use it or lose it. And then what about a third way that we're wasting money, that we can turn this money into wealth, is buying expensive drinks. It can be alcoholic drinks, it can be expensive coffees, going to just wasting your money. Don't waste your money on expensive drinks. It's amazing, because as a business owner, when you take people out, and I don't drink, I don't, think I'm never drank. So when you're not a drinker, you don't realize how much an alcoholic beverage costs. It can turn a meeting from being, $100 meeting, and that's a lot. Food costs a lot also, to $150 meeting because of alcohol. Because they'll charge them like $15 a drink. Don't let the drink be pretty with a little flour in it. It might be $20. I remember one time I went to, I think the place is closed down, but it was in Virginia. And it was like one of those martini bars or something like that. And those drinks were like $20 a piece. And people were buying like multiple drinks. And I thought to myself, of course, I was thinking, like, would they spend that kind of money? Would they just constantly every, 5 times tonight, would they have made 5 contributions into their savings account for the same amount? Would they have actually done that? So it's like, but what these expensive drinks, expensive coffees, my daughter likes to go to Starbucks, like loves it. And I don't, when she's with her friends, yes, but when she was with me and, we're trying to do something silly, like buy some coffee. Coffee is also not a habit that I have. Something nice to do, but it can definitely go without it. But it's like Wawa, it's just as good. One time I got the holiday drink from, it was like the pumpkin spice something from Starbucks. It was $6. I went to Wawa's, got their pumpkin spice with 0 calories, didn't have syrup in it, and it was like $1.50. I mean, seriously? So every penny counts when we want to build wealth. That will actually, if you start looking at what you're overspending and you take that money, Mr. Pittman, and I know that this is true, Renee Lacey will also vouch for me on this, is that if you take that money and you put that money over into paying off the debt, put that money over to saving for yourself on at that same pace of when you're wasting money on expensive lunches each day or things like that, that you can build, your wealth will compound so quickly by taking a bad, silly habit and turning it into a good habit of I save that same amount I save that same amount for myself. That's the money I use to spend on X, Y, Z. So, I mean, I always think it's funny when I decided that I wanted to write my book, and trying to worry about publishers and stuff like that for AfroEconomics was not even a consideration. But I said, what can I change? And I started realizing that the money that we spend on expensive cars is about the same as you just self-publishing whatever you want. So I started like putting money into taking money, buying my dream car, which was a Jeep Wrangler with the big tires and stuff like that, and focusing more on the most simplest form of materialism instead of the most extravagant forms of materialism, but just like, what can you do to make yourself happy, but you don't have to waste money at the same time? And it is amazing what you can do with the money that you used to be just throwing away, because especially as a business owner, and I know so many people that want to own their own business, but they've become it's become a habit for them to live on the status of where you work for somebody and that everybody will loan you money. But what a blessing it is when you are not indebted to everyone else. So many people that work for someone, they get their paycheck and their entire paycheck is going out to pay off these debts that are coming directly from their company credit union. They reduced their interest rate on it by 0.5 point because they wanted it to come directly from their payroll. And then by the time they get their paycheck, they have absolutely nothing left. And then they say to themselves, why am I working? Well, you're working because you decided those are the things that you wanted to spend your money on. And majority of those things are not income creating assets. They're not creating. They don't even have where, if you're putting it into something that can create, where a car can just get you from point A to point B, but it cannot generate income for you unless you turn into like an Uber driver or something like that. But if you turn it into a business, that's the only way. But if you take that car and you put it in, you create it into putting it into a show for your modeling show, like Renee would tell you, you put it into your business, you put it into your church, you put it into your school, like Carolyn Macklemore will tell you, that then all of a sudden you're actually taking the money that you're making and the money is helping you make more money. The money is helping you create a business. The money is helping you build something. That's what real wealth is, having assets that create income for you, and turning how to redirect the money that you're wasting, that show money, and putting it into money that people will see later on. They will see later on, right? But that is the challenge. And I think because being a good entrepreneur requires so much humility, and nobody tells us that part. Nobody tells us how much sacrifice it takes, how much that being a true entrepreneur is going to require, that you may not have a whole closet full of shoes and purses and clothes like everyone else, but that you're going to have to put that off because you have to develop and acquire assets that create income for you. You can't just spend the money that you make. It has to go back into an asset. It has to go back into an asset. Don't just let your assets come from your liabilities. Don't let them just come from loans. So then we talked about, so that I also talked about number 4 in the discussion with the expensive drinks and coffees. My fourth point of how we can stop wasting money is on having car payments that are extremely too high. The things that just really buying things that are unnecessary at this point in your life. Now, I'm the first one to love every luxury vehicle on the planet, but I have to make a conscious decision that that's not where I want to put my assets at that time, right? Renee Lacey said, big sacrifice on many levels. Money has to go back into your business. Now, she's been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, and I know she knows. Lottery tickets. A 5th point is that we waste money on lottery tickets for the possibility of lottery, and gambling is robbing our community of so many hopes and dreams. Now, I know that it does pay off for some people really big, but the real winners are the government that's getting all that money. I feel like I gamble all the time. I feel that as that and being an entrepreneur is gambling. You've given up the security of working for someone else and getting that guaranteed check. So I'm not willing to take all that it takes for me to generate income and go and gamble it away on somebody else's table or somebody else's lottery ticket. My win is you becoming a client with me. That's my win. My win is you joining AfroEconomics. And that's where we have to think about what is our true win? What is really going to be a win for us? I don't see a lottery win making me feel better than building wealth within my community and living as the example of what I want you to have. I don't see it that big ticket. I'm sure will give me joy, but not the kind of joy of when you create something that you've built and you've made yourself. That's real joy to me. That's real wealth. And then a sixth way that we raise money is that so much travel and so much, so many timeshares. I have clients that have been trying to get rid of their timeshares for years. Be careful on the money that you waste on trying to escape from your reality. Why don't you just create the reality, make your reality? My life to me is a vacation. I tell my daughter all the time, we live well, that enjoy. We don't get to spend enough time in your home where you're spending your money on taking care of. As soon as you take a break, you spend all this money to get away from it. I don't get that. I don't know. But I think that we need to really think about why the Emerson, he talks about in the book on self-reliance, of how we go out of our way to go to far off places when there's so much joy to be had and things to be found and to be discovered right here. So think about how you can save money. Do you really need to spend that much money on travel? Have you maximized your IRA? Have you paid off everything that you want to do? Have you put enough into your business? And getting your family and your loved ones to agree, if they have that same work ethic and mentality that you have everything. You have everything. A seventh point is expensive hairstyles. I don't like when people pick on our hair weave and things like that. So I'm not specifically saying that, but but what I'm saying is that sometimes we do spend way too much on hair, on cosmetics or fake nails, or that we can try to discover what can we do to invest in our own hair on our head. There is no, now, I love my braids and things like that when I do it, but that's a lot of money on my head, but there's no better investment that we can make into making sure the head of hair that you have, like the hair that you have, is healthy. Investing in that, and investing in that, taking care of your own hair, really, it costs a fraction of putting fake hair on your head. So it is amazing that we can take that money that we're spending on things that aren't real, and that's some. Carolyn Macklemore is backing me up on this. She owns her own hair school that focus on having a relationship with someone like Carolyn Macklemore and her students and her institutions on how to keep your hair healthy. You can save money, you can build your hair, you can build your health, you can build your business, you can do whatever you want. You can fulfill your dreams, you can pay off your debts, and you'll still be very beautiful. You'll be very beautiful. I believe that God gave us everything that we need. We just need to take care of it. So the eighth way that we can turn waste into wealth is to avoid having too much house. Avoid having too much money that you're spending on where you live if it's not what you really need in order to live. And we tend to do that so that when you purchase it, everybody's excited that you got an 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom house, 20,000 square feet, and you see that stuff on TV with the movie stars and everything, and then you see a lot of them go bankrupt and the house is not worth anything. You know, you see these things. Well, it happens on a small level too. You know, it doesn't have to be a big mansion in Hollywood that causes people to have to go into bankruptcy. So be very careful about the debt. Doesn't have to just be the house. Remember, I talked about the cars as well. Be very careful about the amount of debt that you accumulate. William Pitt, how you doing? And you know, and I know that he will agree as well. And he knows a lot about being self-employed and the importance of keeping your debts low, living within your means, making sure that you realize that too much house can be a problem too, even though it looks fine and it looks good and your family loves it in the summertime. They can come over to the cookout and everything, but just be careful, protect yourself from being financially bogged down and not being able to keep your home, because there's so many people who things change, they overprice themselves in the house, the bank ends up foreclosing on the house, and then everything that they put into the house is taken from them, you know, and then they still end up with a balance on their credit report from a house that they don't have and can't live in anymore. So be very careful. I suggest that if they're married, try to purchase a home that only on the income of one person. And if you really want to do right, do it based on the income of the person who makes the least amount of money. But just make sure that it's something that allows you to still save, invest, relax, take care of your health, because financial stress can go into your health. And that's the 10th principle of AfroEconomics, is making sure that you're healthy, and finances can really deteriorate your health. It can keep it. So as you know, as you always say, and they say, keep it low, keep it low. Yes, keep it low. Social media can be a waste of your money and your time. When you're not doing what you should be doing, but you're doing, say you're in sales and you're not using social media to develop relationships, but you're just using social media to talk about the game last night, or using social media, that waste of your time is a waste of your money. We have to equate our time with money, because for most of us, we have more time than money. You know, well, we don't, but so if we want to maximize our time to help us have money, because you can't get back time. We can't get back any time that we waste. So we want to make sure that we don't waste time, right? Don't waste time on social media, a big time waster. So I guess the biggest point is like, not really that it's social media, because I'm glad that those of you that are watching, and I appreciate and love you, thank you for it. But this particular discussion is empowering you. So this is the kind of thing that we're supposed to use social media for. But a lot of social media is not used to empower you at all. If people are just talking about people or saying mean things to each other, that's not. Let's make sure, no matter what, that we use everything that comes into our life, into our mind, that CJ would agree with me on this, that everything that we're exposed to should be positive and empowering and helping us take it to the next level. Be very careful and realize that your time is how you use your time is a major way of how you create wealth. We have so much time that we don't use for wealth development, and we should. Just being in proper thought and being around people that are thinking and creating ideas and creating positive relationships, all of that helps you build wealth. You are right about that. Time is money. Thank you, Renee Lacey. Ms. Richardson said, I agree. Thank you so much, y'all. And my final point, and this is a sensitive area, but school loans. School loans have been a major way that people have gotten into a lot of debt, and it has pulled away from their ability to build wealth. They have used school loans in an attempt. The goal was in order to getting the school loan so that you can increase your income. But a lot of people are getting into school loan debt at a point where the increase in income can't really benefit them enough. So if you get the education and it's earlier in your career, and I talk about this in the book under the knowledge section, because I think that we as a community have to be very careful about the money that we're spending on these educational loans. We're going into massive amounts of debts, and billions of dollars are being taken from us in our retirement, out of our Social Security checks, to pay back school loans. I tell all of you, do not co-sign on a school loan, even if it's your own child. Find another way. You've got to avoid going into debt for education. Unfortunately, you've got to find another way. I know, and some people really feel, well, I've got to do this. But I'm going to tell you, my parents successfully educated 4 children, and 3 of us have graduate degrees, and my parents went into 0 debt. 0. It's real. So look, I should get them to write a book, how you make your kids pay for their education. But they did. And they, look, and most importantly, they sold us on the idea that it was important. But by the time I finished graduate school, I had caught on to the fact that, you know what, maybe I don't want to do this. But hey, look at that, I don't need to continue just in the school arena. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to learn more just by living. I want to learn more about my craft. I want to get more licenses, more certifications, more things. So you want to realize, what do you want to do and how do I have to get there? But to just get a generic degree and think that that is the key to your success, now you got 100,000 debt, you're 100,000 in debt, and you still are looking for a job. I have a problem with that. You got to have a way. I walked out of undergrad with multiple job opportunities. That's what you're supposed to be doing, with some school loans that I paid off within a few years, and went to graduate school full-time at night while working full-time during the day. So it was boom, boom, graduate school was done. We're dragging it out. It's getting more and more expensive the older you are, and it's not helping you. That's the problem. When you're in that situation, you have to learn to cut it off and say, what am I going to do with this? How much is it going to guarantee that I make more money? And how is this going to benefit me? Because it might be better for you to go to a technical school and learn how to do something technical. Don't fall victim of that's what everybody did, so I got to do it too. You're going to have to, because everybody in my family did something different. I had to have the nerve from a family of academics. I had to get the nerve to say, I want my own business. They looked at me like I was crazy. Why would someone do that? Here it is, almost 25 years later, and I'm still standing. So now, but they were like, what in the world? So sometimes when you got to do what you got to do, you got to have the nerve to do it, because you can end up getting in a lot of debt and you're still not doing what you always wanted to do. Right, Clarence? So I tell y'all, thank you so much for thinking about, I'm just going to closely say, ways that we waste money. Fees at the bank. If you don't use it, lose it. Expensive drinks, car payments, lottery tickets, gambling, traveling, timeshares, expensive styles, expensive hairs, expensive clothes, expensive stuff you can't afford. Too much house, social media and wasting time. And finally, school loans, having too much and it's not working out for you. You got to figure out how to reposition it. So you're creating assets and reducing liabilities. You want every dime that you spend, you want to use the money that you spend to buy assets that create income for you. And you can do that. Join AfroEconomics. Come to the workshop, Today's Black Man and His Money, this month. Join AfroEconomics, let me reiterate that, so that you can have one-on-one meetings with me and we can talk about what's important to you. Golden Opportunities, Beauty and Barber Academy. That's right, tell them, Carolyn Macklemore. Jerry Carter, how you doing? Now he said, listen to her. Me and Jerry go way back. A little man, Cowboy Dallas, the major riding man. They can ride that Harley Davidson. Taught me a lot. Hey, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. So I am JB Bryan, and I'm the President and Chief Investment Officer at JB Bryan Financial Group. It's a registered investment advisory firm, and I'm the author of AfroEconomics, Our Black Wealth Matters. These 100 pages can change your life. Check it out at the bookstore at AfroEconomics.com. God bless y'all. I am unapologetically Black. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Hang out with me each Wednesday. And there's a webinar. Get on the email list so that you can be invited to the webinar as well. Thank you to the webinar participants. Thank you to everybody on Facebook. Thank you to everybody on YouTube. Please subscribe and share this. Share this on Facebook as well. God bless y'all. Have a great day.